She was left in the storm to die. Then he came. The wind howled like a dying beast. Snow fell from the black sky, thick and fast. The cold bit through skin and metal. It was not just a storm. It was death. The convoy moved slowly across the frozen ground. Figures wrapped in thick alien cloth struggled to stay upright. Some dragged sleds. Others carried small children. They were survivors, running from war. Refugees. In the middle of the line, a mother fell. Her name was Vela. She was not like the others. She had 4 arms, soft blue skin, and wide silver eyes that didn't blink much. But now, her legs didn't move at all. They were frozen, paralyzed. She had been like this since the last battle. Her 2 small children cried beside her. 1 boy, 1 girl. Their hands shook from cold. They tugged at her arms. "Mother, get up. Please," the boy whispered. Vela tried. Her arms moved, but her legs were dead. She couldn't even feel them. The snow was covering her body slowly. She was sinking into the storm. Voices called out from the line. "Leave her. She can't make it. She will only slow us down." One tall alien with sharp teeth growled, "She's not our problem anymore. We must survive." And just like that, the convoy walked away. Step by step, they'd vanished into the storm, leaving Vela and her children behind. Vela didn't cry. She had no tears left. She closed her eyes and whispered, "I'm sorry." But someone stayed behind. A man, not alien, a human. His name was Jack. Jack had come with the convoy weeks ago. No one knew why he was on the alien planet. He rarely spoke. He had dark eyes and a long coat that was torn at the edges. His beard was rough, and his hands were always dirty. But he was strong, and he watched everything. Jack stood over Vela in the snow. "You're not dead yet," he said. Vela opened her eyes. "Why? Why are you still here?" He knelt beside her and took off his coat. "Because I don't leave people to die." He wrapped the coat around her shoulders. Then he looked at the children. "You cold?" They nodded. He pulled them close. "Stay close to your mother. I'm going to build something." Jack looked around. The storm was too strong. If they stayed like this, they would all die. So he moved. Fast. He grabbed pieces of broken metal from old crates nearby. With his hands, he dug into the snow, making a small wall to block the wind. Then he used the metal to cover it. Bit by bit, he made a tiny shelter, just enough to fit them all. His fingers turned red, then blue. He didn't stop. He dragged Vela gently into the shelter, then brought the kids in too. Inside, it was dark and tight, but it was warmer, just enough. Jack gave the children a small food bar from his pocket. They shared it quietly. Vela looked at him with weak eyes. "You could have left," she said. "Why didn't you?" Jack leaned back against the cold wall. "I've left people before. Not anymore." Outside, the wind screamed louder. Inside, the shelter stayed quiet. Vela watched him. "Human, what's your name?" "Jack. I'm Vela. These are my children, Rin and Mela." Jack gave a small nod. "Nice to meet you." Silence again. Only the sound of the storm outside. Then a growl. Jack turned his head. That was no wind. He grabbed a broken metal rod and moved to the shelter's entrance. He peeked through a crack. Something moved in the snow. Big, heavy, breathing hard. A shadow passed over the shelter. The children held their breath. Jack whispered, "Stay quiet." The shadow moved away. For now. Jack didn't sleep that night. He stayed near the entrance, holding his metal rod, watching. The storm wouldn't last forever, but something worse might come next. He looked at Vela. She was half asleep, holding her children close. Jack whispered to himself, "I don't know why I'm here, but I won't let them die." Outside, the blizzard raged on. Inside the small shelter, a human, and 3 aliens shared a little warmth. Tomorrow would bring danger. But tonight, they had each other. He built a shelter with bare hands for someone not even human. The blizzard did not stop. It screamed like a beast hungry for life. Snow slammed against the shelter. The walls Jack built shook under the weight of wind and ice, but they held, just barely. Inside, the shelter was cold and tight. The children slept in their mother's arms, their small faces pale and tired. Vela, the alien mother, was awake. Her wide silver eyes watched Jack in silence. Jack had not slept. He sat near the opening, gripping a broken metal rod, eyes fixed on the snow outside. His body was freezing, but he didn't care. He had made a choice. He had stayed behind. With her. With them. The others, aliens from the convoy, were gone. Cowards, he thought. They had left a paralyzed mother and 2 small children to die in a storm. And now, Jack was alone with 3 lives that depended on him. He didn't even know why he had done it. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was because deep down, he was tired of walking away. The shelter moaned as the wind hit again. Jack turned to Vela. "Are you in pain?" She shook her head slowly. "No, I can't feel anything from my waist down." Jack nodded. "You need heat. Soon." He reached into his torn backpack and pulled out his last energy bar. Without a word, he gave it to the kids when they woke up. They didn't smile, but their eyes showed quiet thanks. They shared it between them, breaking it in half. "You should eat," Vela said weakly. "I'll eat later," Jack lied. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. Later that morning, the wind slowed for a few minutes. Jack took his chance. He stepped out, boots crunching on ice. He needed fuel, anything to make a fire. He searched the snow-covered field and found scraps. Broken wood from an old wagon, some wire, and a cracked power cell that still held a tiny spark. He dragged them back, his hands shaking. He made a fire. Small, but warm. Inside the shelter, the children reached out to feel the heat. Their faces softened. For a moment, it felt like hope. Jack sat beside the fire, rubbing his hands. Then he looked at Vela. She stared at him like she was trying to understand something. "No one has ever done this for me," she whispered. Jack shrugged. "Then they're fools." She gave a tiny smile. "You're not like them." "I'm not like anyone anymore," he replied, voice low. Silence. Only crackling fire and slow breaths. Then a sudden noise, a soft crunch of footsteps, coming closer. Jack stood. He grabbed his rod and moved to the opening again. Not the beast. Something else. An alien from the convoy. A short, thin male. His face was sharp, his arms wrapped in red cloth. Jack stepped outside and blocked his way. "What do you want?" The alien's eyes were wide. I came back. I forgot something." Jack looked at the alien's hands. He was carrying a small bag, one that belonged to Vela. Jack had seen it before. "Drop it," Jack said. "It's not yours." The alien hissed. "She's still alive. It's hers." The alien tried to run. Jack stepped forward and struck the metal rod across his path. "Try again," Jack warned. The alien froze, then dropped the bag and ran into the snow. Jack picked it up and brought it inside. He gave it to Vela. She opened it slowly. Inside were pictures, holograms of her children, a locket, and a small glowing chip. Vela stared at the chip. "What is it?" Jack asked. Her face changed. She looked scared. "This chip, it has information. I was carrying it before I was injured." "What kind of information?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Coordinates. A secret shelter. A place where my people once stored food, weapons, even medical tech." Jack leaned closer. "Where?" She looked down. "Not far. Maybe a few hours, if I could walk." Jack looked at her legs. They didn't move. Then he looked at the children. Then at the scraps outside. He stood up. "I'll make a sled," he said. "You can't carry me and survive," she said. He didn't answer. He went outside and began working. Night fell again. The storm slowed, but the cold was worse. Jack had made a rough sled using the old wagon parts. He tied ropes with wire, padded the bottom with cloth. His hands were raw, skin cracked, blood on his fingertips. He placed Vila gently on the sled, covering her with blankets and what was left of his coat. The kids held her hands. They were ready. Jack tied the rope to his waist. One step, then another. The journey had begun. But as they moved forward, far behind them in the dark snow, something watched. Something tall. Something not human. Its red eyes glowed in the snowstorm. And it followed them. She couldn't move, but her eyes held a terrible secret. The snow crunched beneath Jack's boots as he pulled the sled. Step by step, the rope dug into his waist. The cold wind burned his face. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. Vila and her 2 children huddled on the sled, wrapped in old cloth and blankets. Her silver eyes never left the horizon. She didn't complain. She didn't cry. But deep inside those eyes was something hidden. A secret. One she hadn't told him yet. Hours passed. The snowstorm had become a silent fog. Everything was white. The sky, the ground, the air. It felt like walking through a dream. Or a trap. Jack's legs felt like stone. Still, he pulled the sled. "Jack," Vela said softly. He turned his head, out of breath. "There's something I didn't tell you," she said. Jack raised an eyebrow. "Figured." Vela looked at the children, then back at him. "The shelter we're going to. It's not just a storage place." Jack stopped walking. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, then whispered, "I helped build it. During the war." Jack's eyes narrowed. "You're a soldier?" She shook her head. "Worse. I was a scientist." They rested beneath a sharp ridge of ice. Jack lit a small fire with the broken power cell he carried. Just enough heat to keep them alive. Vela spoke quietly, as her children slept beside her. "I designed weapons. Machines that could destroy entire colonies. I didn't want to. But I didn't have a choice." Jack stared into the flames. "What happened?" Vela looked down at her legs. "I tried to run. I knew too much. They caught me. They broke my spine and left me behind. I wasn't useful anymore." Silence fell. Only the fire cracked. Jack didn't say anything for a long time. Then he looked up. "Why didn't they kill you?" Vela met his eyes. "Because they're afraid. I know where the core is hidden. The real secret of the war." Jack blinked. "What secret?" She hesitated again. "The base we're going to. It has more than food and medicine. It has something powerful, something alive." Jack's face turned serious. "Alive?" She nodded. "An ancient machine. It sleeps beneath the ice. It was never meant to wake up." Jack sighed. "So we're not just walking into shelter. We're walking into a vault." Vela's voice dropped. "Yes, and if we reach it, others might follow." Jack stood and looked into the fog. For the first time since the blizzard started, he felt something worse than cold. He felt watched. Hours later, they moved again. The sled slid slowly over the snow. Jack's body ached. His lips were cracked. But the mountain in the distance looked closer now. Then, he heard something. A soft growl. Behind them. He turned sharply. Nothing but fog. "Keep moving," Vela said. But Jack stepped off the path. He moved quietly, rod in hand. A shape flashed between 2 ice rocks. Tall, fast, silent. It wasn't the alien from before. This was something else. Jack returned to the sled. "We're not alone," he said. Vela's face turned pale. "It started," she whispered. "By evening, They reached the cliff. An old entrance was hidden behind thick icicles. Vela pointed to a round panel buried in snow. "Wipe it. My handprint will open it." Jack brushed the snow away, revealing alien metal. He took Vela's hand and pressed it to the panel. The door beeped once, then slid open with a deep grinding sound. Warm air hit their faces. It smelled of dust and memory. Jack pulled the sled inside. Lights flickered to life across the ceiling. Old tech, broken screens, glass tubes filled with frozen mist. The children gasped. It was another world inside. Safe, but not quiet. As they moved deeper, Vela spoke again. "There's one more thing." Jack gave her a look. "I'm almost afraid to ask." She nodded at a dark hallway. "At the end of that tunnel is a vault. The machine sleeps there." Jack frowned. "You keep calling it a machine. What is it really?" Vela looked at her children. Her voice shook. "It's not just metal. It thinks. It dreams. It was made long ago, by something older than my kind. It was meant to save life, but they tried to turn it into a weapon." Jack felt a chill, not from cold, but from fear. "Why did you help build it?" "I didn't know what it really was," she whispered. "Not until it was too late." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the shelter. The children screamed. Jack turned fast, metal rod raised. A door behind them had been forced open. Footsteps. Heavy. Slow. Not the creature. Not an animal. It was a man. No, a soldier. An alien in dark armor, red lights glowing on his arms. Jack stepped in front of the children. The soldier raised his weapon. Vela cried out, "Wait, don't hurt them." The soldier spoke with a cold voice. "You were supposed to die in the snow, Vela." Jack gripped his rod tighter. "Guess that plan failed." The soldier sneered. The human, always interfering. He raised his blaster. Jack moved. Fast. He slammed the rod into the blaster, knocking it aside. The soldier hit him in the chest, sending Jack flying. But Jack stood again, bleeding, breathing hard. The soldier aimed again, until a sudden pulse of light exploded from the hallway behind them. A deep voice echoed from the walls. "Unknown presence detected. Unlocking memory core." Jack turned. The vault had opened, and something inside was waking up. A monster found them in the snow, and he only had fire. The vault door opened with a loud, slow hiss. A soft blue light pulsed from inside, like a heartbeat. Cold mist flowed across the floor. Something ancient, something powerful, had just woken up. Jack stared into the glowing chamber. His chest rose and fell fast, blood running down his cheek from the soldier's punch. His arms ached. His rod was broken, but he stood between the enemy and the family behind him. The alien soldier raised his weapon again, stepping forward. Then everything changed. From deep inside the vault came a voice. Not male, not female. It sounded old, metal, but alive. Biological presence, human. Signal match found. Preparing neural link. Jack felt a sharp pain in his head, like electricity snapping through his brain. He dropped to one knee. "Jack!" Vela cried out. The soldier froze. His red eyes widened. "No, it's choosing him." The lights grew brighter. Symbols lit up across the walls. Ancient letters spinning in the air. Neural sync confirmed. Initiating interface. Suddenly, Jack saw something no one else could see. A vision. He was floating. In space. Stars surrounded him. In front of him was a planet. Broken, shattered, burning in silence. Then he saw it. A massive machine, shaped like a star, spinning in orbit. Covered in lights, metal, and scars from war. "We were made to protect. Then, used to destroy." The voice spoke again. "You are the last compatible mind. The others failed. But you are different." Back in the room, Jack gasped and collapsed. Vela dragged herself toward him, her arms shaking. "Jack, say something." He blinked, then looked at her. "I saw it," he said softly. "The machine. It's alive, and it knows me." The soldier growled, "No more lies." He aimed his weapon again. But the vault door suddenly slammed shut, trapping the soldier outside the chamber. A steel wall dropped down. Jack, Vela, and the children were sealed inside with the core. The soldier shouted and banged his fists on the metal. Then, silence. Vela leaned over Jack. "Are you okay?" "I don't know," he said, "but it spoke to me. It chose me." "Why?" Vela looked at the glowing walls. "Maybe because you're human, and maybe because you care." Later that night, they found a working heater inside a side room. Jack patched the wires together using old tools. The warm air filled the space. For the first time in days, the children fell asleep with smiles on their faces. Jack sat with Vela beside the heater. He looked at her. That soldier. He knew what this place was. She nodded. They always knew. They were waiting for me to die so they could come take the core. But the core woke up early, and now it's linked to you. Jack looked down at his hands. "I'm not special," he said. "You are now," she whispered. Outside, the wind began to howl again. But it wasn't the storm this time. It was something else. Something bigger. An hour later, a sound echoed through the halls. Scraping. Sniffing. Heavy steps. Jack stood and grabbed a broken metal pipe. He moved quietly toward the entrance. There, standing in the tunnel, was the beast. The one from the storm. It was tall, hunched, covered in white fur and ice. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth. Eyes like frozen glass. It sniffed the air and growled. It had followed them. Jack stepped forward. He had no gun, no shield, only fire. He lit a torch using broken fuel cells and waved it slowly. The beast growled louder. Jack shouted, "Go back." It roared and charged. Jack didn't move. He waited. Then, at the last second, he threw the fire straight into its face. The beast screamed and backed up, swiping at the flames. Jack ran forward, swinging the pipe. He hit it once, twice, but it barely felt it. The creature lunged and tackled Jack to the ground. Jack screamed as sharp claws tore into his side. Vela cried out from the back room, dragging herself forward, reaching for anything. Anything to help. Then, the walls glowed. The machine core responded, protecting linked subject. From the ceiling, a metal arm dropped down and fired a bolt of light. The beast froze mid-snarl, then dropped. Dead. Smoke rose from its chest. Jack rolled over, coughing, shaking. Vela reached him and held his hand. "You're bleeding." Jack laughed weakly. "Not the first time. You saved us again." He looked at her. "No, the machine did." Vela looked toward the core. "Maybe it's not just a weapon anymore." They moved deeper into the base. Inside a storage room, Jack found real food. Not much, but enough. The children ate with wide eyes, smiling for the first time in days. Jack finally sat down and ate too. Vela watched him. "You never stop, do you?" He looked at her. "I stopped once," he said. "Back on Earth. Someone needed me. I didn't help. I ran." He looked away. "That's why I stayed. With you, I couldn't run again." Vela touched his hand gently. "You didn't just save us. You gave us hope." But far above them, in the storm outside, ships began to descend. Dark, sleek, and silent. Alien soldiers stepped out in rows. And at the front was the same tall alien who had left Vela behind. His voice came through the radio. "She's still alive. And now the human has the core. Prepare for full breach. Kill them all." She wasn't just a mother. She was the key to everything. The lights in the old base flickered as more systems woke up, Ancient wires hummed with soft power. Machines beeped. Vents hissed as warm air pushed into long-forgotten tunnels. Jack stood near a glowing console, staring at symbols he couldn't read. His fingers hovered over the screen, unsure. The voice of the machine echoed gently in his head again. "You are learning. Slowly. Your mind is adapting." Jack closed his eyes. "You're not just a machine," he whispered. "I was never just a machine. I was made to guide, then turned into a weapon, until she stopped them." Jack turned to look at Vela. She sat near her children, feeding them from a small food pack they had found in a sealed locker. Her face looked tired, but stronger, sharper, like a fire had been lit behind her silver eyes. Jack walked over. "I think it's time you tell me the full truth," he said. Vela nodded. "I will." An hour later, in the base's old control room, Vela sat across from Jack, her arms wrapped around her legs. "I was never meant to be a mother," she said softly. "I was meant to build, to invent, to follow orders." Jack stayed silent. "I was one of the top minds in the Empire. My job was to design machines that could win wars, not with bullets, but with thought, with control, with fear." She looked at the flickering walls. The ancient writing glowed around her like fireflies. "The thing you're connected to, we called it Kareth. It wasn't just a machine. It was a living database, a mind created from millions of voices, all uploaded from scientists, explorers, even philosophers." Jack narrowed his eyes. "You created artificial life." Vela shook her head. "No, we created something new, something that could think, feel, and learn faster than any living being." "But something went wrong," Jack guessed. She nodded. "Our leaders wanted to turn it into a weapon, use its voice to control minds, cities, planets. I refused. I fought them. I destroyed the master key before it could be finished." Jack leaned in. "So the war was because of this?" "In part," she said. "They blamed me, called me a traitor. They took my legs with a punishment needle, paralyzed me, and left me during evacuation. I was supposed to freeze." "But you didn't," Jack said quietly. "Because I found you." "No," Vela said softly. "Because you stayed." Meanwhile, above the base, alien dropships circled in the snowstorm. Red lights cut through the clouds. Soldiers marched in rows, covered in black armor. Their weapons glowed with blue energy. In the lead ship, Commander Threx watched the screens. "She's alive. The machine is awake. The human has formed a link," he growled. Beside him, a smaller officer trembled. "Should we try diplomacy?" Threx laughed. "Diplomacy ended the day she broke the core key." He leaned over a screen and activated a code. "Send the diggers. We go in from below." Back inside the base, the ground shook. Slightly. Jack felt it first. The fire in the side room flickered. Dust fell from the ceiling. "We've got company," he said. Vela looked at the old monitors. Static. Then, flickers of shapes moving below. "They're not coming from the front door." "Underground," Jack said. "Smart." He walked back into the vault. The machine core pulsed with soft blue light, then turned to red. Breach detected. Hostile presence moving beneath Defense Layer 4. Jack looked up. "Can you stop them?" "Not without help." A console lit up. Symbols danced. Jack stared at them. "You must choose. Activate internal weapons, or unlock command seat." Jack turned to Vela. "What does that mean?" Her face grew pale. "The command seat links your mind fully. You'll be part of it. You'll feel what it feels. Think what it thinks." Jack looked at the sleeping children beside her, then at the dark hallway where enemy soldiers would soon break through. "I don't care," he said. He stepped forward and placed his hand on the panel. The console hissed. Metal arms came from the floor, building a seat from cables and steel. It rose slowly. Jack sat down. straps wrapped around his arms and legs. A soft light touched his forehead. And suddenly, he was everywhere. In his mind, he saw the whole base, all the rooms, all the corridors, all the tunnels below, where enemy soldiers were drilling. He could hear their plans, see their maps, and more. He saw Vela's memories, her first day at the lab, the moment she held her newborn son, the day she was sentenced. Then he saw something else. Earth, his own home, his childhood, the face of the person he failed to protect back then, his sister. Tears formed in his real eyes, even as his mind stretched across the base. "You are now one with the core," the voice said gently. "Do you accept?" "Yes," Jack whispered. "Then you are not alone anymore. Back in the real world." Metal turrets unfolded from the walls. Energy shields activated in the main hallway. Vela's children gasped as the lights changed color and screens filled with alien symbols. She looked toward the vault. "Jack," his voice came through the speakers. "I'm still here." Then softer. "And I'm not letting them take you." Deep below, the enemy soldiers finally broke through a floor panel. They crawled into the dark hallway. And they walked into a trap. Turrets lit up. Lasers fired. Explosions rocked the tunnels. Commander Threx screamed orders, but it was too late. The base had teeth, and it had chosen a human as its protector. Inside the vault, Jack opened his eyes. He was weak, but alive. Vela crawled toward him, tears in her eyes. "You did it," she whispered. Jack nodded. "We're not safe yet, but we're stronger now." She touched his hand. "You're not just a soldier, not just a human." She looked at the glowing walls. "You're the first one it truly accepted." Jack looked at her. "And you were never just a mother." But the war wasn't over. Outside, more ships were landing. And somewhere in the shadows, a new force had heard the machine's signal. And it was coming. He took the hit to save her life. Now she had to fight back. Smoke drifted through the air vents of the old alien base. The ground trembled as more enemy drop pods smashed into the snow above. Metal claws drilled through ice. Troops in black armor poured in through secret tunnels, weapons glowing with blue light. They were not just soldiers. They were eliminators. Their orders: no survivors. Kill the mother. Take the core. Destroy the human link. Inside the command chamber, Jack lay slumped in the machine seat. His eyes were open, but his skin was pale. His body shook slightly, like static was crawling beneath his skin. The core spoke softly in his mind. "Your body cannot handle full link much longer. Neural damage. 27%. Increasing." Jack gritted his teeth. "I don't care," he whispered. "Just keep her safe." In the control room nearby, Vela sat near her children. Her arms trembled. Her spine was still useless. No movement from the waist down. But her eyes burned with fire. The walls flashed red. Screens showed movement. Dozens of red dots, closing in. She turned to the vault entrance. "Jack, talk to me." His voice came through a speaker. Soft, slow. "I'm here." "You're getting worse," she said. "I said I'd protect you. I'm not going back on that. You'll die." Jack didn't answer. Vela looked at the children. They were too young to understand, but they knew fear. They could feel something terrible was coming. She turned back to the console beside her. "I helped build this base," she said. "There must be another way." Back in the vault, Jack's breathing grew heavy. The core scanned his vitals again. "You are failing. Initiate mind release protocol now." But Jack refused. Then the core said something strange. "Alternate link found. Secondary neural pattern. 93% compatibility." Jack frowned. "Who?" "Vela." His eyes widened. "She helped create me. She holds the seed key. She can take command." Jack shook his head. "She can't walk. Her body. Command does not require legs. only courage. In the control room, Vela suddenly gasped. The console beside her lit up with ancient words. She stared at the screen. Her name appeared in glowing text. And then, a symbol she hadn't seen in years. The original mark of the Kareth project. She touched the screen. The voice of the core echoed softly in her mind. Do you accept, Link? She closed her eyes and said, yes. Back in the vault, Jack felt the connection weaken. The pressure in his head faded. His body dropped from the chair. He hit the floor, coughing hard, heart pounding. Vela's voice filled the chamber, not through the speaker, but through the walls. I've got it now, Jack. He smiled weakly. Told you, you were more than a mother. Moments later, the base changed. The lights shifted from red to white-blue. Doors sealed shut behind them. Energy shields activated above the children. Robotic limbs extended from the walls and gently lifted Jack, placing him on a medical bed. And in the center of the base, Vela hovered, her body held upright in a mechanical suit built from the base itself. She stood for the first time in years. Her eyes glowed with the light of the core. Above ground, Commander Threx shouted orders. Get inside. Now, before it fully activates. But it was too late. The snow cracked open. Turrets rose from hidden pits. Light cannons powered by the core itself began to fire. Enemy ships exploded in the sky. Troops screamed and ran. Inside the base, Vela walked down the hall using her exoframe. Her voice came through every speaker. This was never your weapon. This was never your war. This ends now. Enemy soldiers inside the tunnels turned to run, but doors slammed shut behind them. Walls lit up with warnings. They were trapped. One by one, the invaders were neutralized by the base defenses. In the medical room, Jack lay in silence, eyes closed. Then, he heard her footsteps. Slow, heavy, mechanical. He opened his eyes. Vela stood in the doorway, taller now, stronger, glowing with power. You're standing, he said, smiling faintly. No, she said, I'm rising. She knelt beside him, the suit gently supporting her. I never got to thank you, she said. You don't have to. She touched his cheek gently. I do. You gave up everything. For me. For my children. For a stranger. Jack closed his eyes. You're not a stranger anymore. Later that day, the sky cleared. The storm was gone. Enemy ships burned across the snow, now broken metal and ash. Inside the base, the children ran and laughed through the warm halls. Vela stood at the heart of the core, fully linked, now the base's true protector. And Jack, though weaker, began to recover. He watched them from the doorway. And for the first time in years, he felt peace. But he also knew it wasn't over. Far away, across the stars, a signal had been received. A new enemy had seen the awakening of the core, and it was coming. But now, Vela was ready. And Jack, he would fight again. Not because he had to, but because he chose to. The galaxy watched as a human protected an enemy. The stars above the frozen planet shimmered like silent witnesses. Where once snowstorms ruled and death waited in every shadow, now only fire and silence remained. The enemy ships were gone, reduced to ashes. Their black armor melted into the ice. The mountain trembled no more. But deep inside the ancient base, something far greater had awakened. A memory. A choice. A legacy. Vela stood in the command chamber, her spine still useless beneath the machine. But no one would know now. Her body was held upright by the exosuit. Her mind was fused with the core. She wasn't just standing. She was leading. Screens across the galaxy had picked up the emergency signal from the base, just before the attack ended. And now, alien eyes watched from faraway stars. On ships, in bunkers, in villages, all tuning into a story that no one could believe. A paralyzed mother, once abandoned, now commanding the most powerful machine ever created, and by her side, a human man. Jack stood quietly, leaning on a cane. He wasn't fully healed. His body still hurt. His mind still echoed with memories that weren't his. But he stood. The children ran past him, laughing as they chased a floating helper bot through the hallway. He smiled. "Feels like a dream," he said softly. Vela turned to him, her voice coming from both her lips and the walls. "It was a nightmare. But we woke up." He nodded, then looked at the giant holographic panel in the middle of the room. It showed thousands of incoming messages from around the galaxy. Aliens from every species, every class, every world. Messages of shock, of fear, but most of all, of hope. Suddenly, the core spoke again. "Incoming fleet detected. Identity. Unknown. Estimated arrival. 6 hours." Jack's smile faded. Another attack. Vela frowned. Possibly. Or it might be something else. She moved to the console and opened a transmission channel. Her image appeared across the stars, projected onto every ship and every open network. She spoke. "My name is Vela, daughter of the fallen empire. I was left behind, broken, unwanted. I was paralyzed and sentenced to die. But one man, one human, stayed. He gave me warmth. He gave me protection. He gave me something far more powerful than weapons. He gave me choice. This base was never meant to be a weapon. It was a place of knowledge. It was turned into something dark. But today, we take it back. I am no longer a tool. And this man beside me is no longer just a stranger. He is my ally, my shield. And if you come for us, know this. We do not kneel. We do not run. We stand together." Across the stars, silence fell. Then, one by one, messages started returning. "We stand with you. Long live the human. Mother of the core. Protect the protector." Back inside the base, Jack leaned against the wall. "You're good with speeches," he said. Vela smiled. "You gave me the words." He looked up at the sky through a ceiling panel. "You think they'll come to help?" Vela nodded. "Some will, some won't. But we're not alone anymore." Later that night, the base was calm. Jack sat by a restored heater, with the children asleep beside him. He held a small metal tag in his hand. It had belonged to his sister. He whispered, "You'd be proud, Mia." He looked at Vela, who now rested in her suit near the console. She saw him watching. "You miss her?" He nodded. "I left her once. I ran away. I never said goodbye." Vela's voice softened. "But now you stayed. That matters." Jack looked down. "I was always afraid that if I stayed, I'd fail again." "You didn't fail," she said. "You gave me back my voice, my strength, my future." She turned toward him. "And you saved my children. That's not failure, Jack. That's love." Suddenly, the alarm beeped. Jack stood fast. But the core spoke calmly. "Fleet arrival confirmed. No weapons detected. Diplomatic flag raised." Vela's eyes lit up. "They're coming to help." The ships landed one by one, across the snow. Aliens from many species walked down with flags, hands raised in peace. They carried tools, food, medicine, and gifts. Gifts not of war, but of trust. A tall alien female approached Vela, bowed her head, and placed her hand on her chest. "We came because we saw him protect you." She looked at Jack. "We thought humans were myths, but he became one." Weeks passed. The base became something new. A sanctuary, a school, a symbol. More came from across the stars. Those abandoned, forgotten, broken, seeking safety. And they found it here. With Vela. With Jack. One final scene. Jack stood outside in the snow, now calm and beautiful. The wind was soft. The stars above glowed gently. Beside him, Vela stood in her suit, no longer just surviving, but thriving. She looked at the sky. "You still miss Earth?" Jack smiled. "Sometimes, but I think I found something better." "What's that?" He turned to her. "A place that needed me. A place I didn't run from. A place where I became more." She touched his arm. "You became legend." He touched her hand. "No, we did."